become tradition at this point for Legends of Tomorrow to subvert expectations of what you might expect from a superhero show. And this year's season finale was definitely no exception. The big battle for the fate of the world? Well, yeah, it featured shake weights, a pogo stick, and was set to a live rendition of the Thong song. So that's basically Legends in a nutshell. So just a quick spoiler warning here for Swan Thong, the season 5 finale of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. So not long after escaping from their TV sitcom Purgatory last episode, the team made short work of the Psycho Fate pretty early, wrapping her up in the loom of fate and destroying it in the process. And by Psycho Fate, I am referring to, I think her name is Atropos. The one that looked like she had no emotion except kill, angry kill mode. She did. So the loom is destroyed during all of that, but at the jump, the team searches out a historical junkyard to find out where the Wave Rider had been dumped, because this whole dump is filled with contraband stuff, and that's contraband according to the Fates, so of course it's all that good stuff, like a massage chair, waffle maker. I mean, how could you live without waffles? But then that is where the Wave Rider is currently being stored, and Mick, thankfully, has the keys to the Wave Rider, so he's just hilariously walking around the lot, clicking the button, and trying to locate the ship. But with Gideon missing, the Legends use Nate's metal skin as a conductor to get the ship in the air so that they can make a time jump, though he can only muster a few months into the future, and they weren't really able to control when and where they showed up. So they kind of just had to roll with it and see what happened. Though things look somewhat normal from the jump, but then becomes pretty clear that the remaining Fates have still manipulated this reality. So they are now weaponizing history as evil examples of free will gone wrong and turning the loom's omnipresent advice into a smartwatch. So this is a very modern take on this situation here with the whole smartwatch thing and everything, because here in the modern world, we got all these iPhones and smartwatches and Fitbits and stuff like that. So here, the world is confused in the wake of the loom's destruction. So that's why this ends up working for them, because they don't know what to do now that their whole life has been changed and basically flipped on its head. So they're like, all right, well, let's just use these smartwatches, because then they'll tell us exactly what to do since we don't know what to do. And that's kind of not a good life to live. I don't know what to do, so I'll let this watch tell me what to do. And then that's how I'm going to live my whole life. And that doesn't sound very fun. But the Fates have also actually made a museum of the world's worst villains. And it also features the world's baddest ideas, which will come into play later in the episode. So this Hall of Villains actually features a few rogues highlighted from this season, including Stalin, there's some other people I can't think of. Oh, Marie Antoinette, yeah, and then some other ones that I don't remember the name of because I'm not good at history. But they're there, and they find out that the villains are ranked, so they're like, all right, Stalin or whatever is number 13 or 14 or whatever. So they're like, all right, who's number 1? So then they find that number 2 on the list is actually the Legends. So the Legends are the number 2 villain in the world, while the Loombreaker, which is Charlie, is imprisoned as a public enemy at ranking number 1. So the team ends up rescuing her, though she's still questioning whether free will is worth the trouble, because she's been living the past 4 months being controlled by the Fates, which is actually just Lachesis right now, and she is currently just doing what her watch tells her to do, which is telling her to just stay in that chair wearing that creepy hood and looking like the Grim Reaper over there. So during all of that, it seems like the loom has been reassembled, but it turns out the Fate has simply hijacked Gideon and has her running a loom program that is piped into all those smartwatches. So Gideon is the one that's holding the program and telling everybody what to do, basically. So there isn't any actual loom anywhere that they can just destroy. It's just an AI making its best guesses based on the time stream. So the team hides out as their wax museum counterparts to confront the Fate, though she brings a few of those Encores back to life for a final battle to try and stop them. But then that's where things get really crazy, because like I mentioned before with the Hall of Bad Ideas, the Legends head over there to grab all of the bad ideas and use them as weapons. So that's why I said that they use like a shake weight and a pogo stick, and then Constantine's got his cigarettes now, and all that stuff. But then one other thing that was there in the Hall of Bad Ideas was the Thong song. So the Fates deem that as one of the world's worst or bad ideas. But Nate loves the song, so of course when they go to get their weapons from the Hall of Bad Ideas, of course he starts to play the song, and then this whole battle is set to Cisco doing the Thong song, and he's actually in this episode. It's not like they just have the song playing. No, Cisco, the one that performs the song, was actually there in the episode, and he was the wax figure that was doing it and everything. So I think that was really cool. And Legends is really like the only show where you can find something like this. And that's one of the great things about this show. You can see some crazy things like this, like the big, huge final battle of the episode on a superhero show is having the Thong song playing in the background. So, yeah. And honestly, I agree with Nate. If that was there, I just couldn't resist hitting that button anyway. Because, I mean, it is a good song. I mean, it really is. But after slugging it out for a while, Charlie comes to her senses after chat with Mick's daughter, actually. And she makes the case that were the world not so screwed up, she'd have never existed and never gotten to know her father, because she is all about chaos. She came from chaos, because the only reason she exists is because Mick time traveled back to his high school reunion so that he could, do it with his ex-girlfriend in a broom closet, and now he has a daughter. So that's just pure chaos right there. So, of course, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to chaos and how people need the choices, the ability to make choices. Because if they didn't, then she wouldn't exist. And at first she didn't like her father, but now she does. And she's glad that she got to know him and everything. But it might not be perfect, but it's life, Things get messy, but oftentimes they're still worth it. So after that whole talk with Charlie, she brings some hell weapons to the mix, and the Legends are able to make easy work of the lingering Encores and defeat all of them one by one. And I still really love the effect that they used when they kill one of the Encores with a hell weapon, because like just this poof of green smoke and stuff, and it's just really cool. And it's pretty much smooth sailing from there, because then it's like they saved the day. Charlie stopped her sister from, trying to keep the world in her control. And now the Legends are just back to the Wave Rider, and they're quote unquote on vacation now, I guess. But then things take a turn for the worse here, because turns out Bayrod throughout this whole episode was actually suffering from some visions and memories of his death from the original timeline, which would be original Zari's timeline. So that is the one that spawned the OG Zari before she was replaced this season. And it seems with both Zaris in the mix, the time stream is breaking around Bayrod to the point where it might actually eventually kill him, to try and correct the fact that he's both dead and alive depending on the timeline, with both active due to both Zaris kicking around. So this is definitely getting interesting here. And Bayrod is actually about to die, but then that is when OG Zari decides that she has to sacrifice herself. She decides that she has to go back in the totem, and then that way her brother and the new version of her, aka Zari 2.0, can still live and be part of the Legends. So she has to make that sacrifice, and I like this. obviously I still prefer OG Zari over Zari 2.0, but I am glad that we at least got this chance to say goodbye to the character, because last season when she disappeared, we didn't see it coming. It's not like she died or anything or had like a death scene. It was like she was hugging Nate or something, and then like the camera angle changed, and then it was just instantly her brother, and it was just super confusing. But this way we got to see her say goodbye to everybody, to not just the team but especially Nate, and then after that she voluntarily heads back into the totem. And like I said, it's a sad but fitting way to wrap up her story, because she spent her time with the legends trying to save her brother, and with this sacrifice, she finally did just that, because she may not have been able to save her brother, at least her version of her brother in her timeline, but she was able to save Zari 2.0's brother. So I say this was a really fitting end to the character, and I really don't think we'll see her return. But, I mean, we could possibly see her return because she is just inside the totem, and earlier in the season, actually in the episode where Bayrod died, we could that was when Zari was inside the totem talking to OG Zari. So we could possibly see that happen in the future. We could see both Bayrod and Zari 2.0 go into the totem to try and get advice from Zari 2.0. So we could definitely still see her, but I don't think we'll ever see her on the Wave Rider and like in person ever again. But with the world free and the time strain restored after that, the team heads back to where Charlie's story first began, rocking out in the old British pub where Charlie rocks out with her punk band, The Smell. And I say one of the best parts about this scene was, so she's the lead singer of The Smell, so the song that they were singing was literally a punk rock version of Mr. Parker's Cul-de-sac theme song. At first, when I first listened to it, I was like, why is she saying Mr. Parker and like cul-de-sac? And then I realized, oh my god, that's the theme song. Like that's the kind of thing you get with Legends, and it's really crazy. But it just feels right for all of these characters to be decked out in punk gear and throwing it down. But with her Loom adventure complete now, Charlie decides to retire from the Legends and stick around in her original place, meaning the team will now be down 2 Legends heading into next season, counting the extra Zari who exited. But after that, Astra also looks to be on her way out after hanging around the past few episodes, and she gives Constantine his soul coin back and plans to try out a human life, though she does joke she'll be setting up shop in Constantine's manor, so maybe this isn't quite the last we've seen of her just yet. I have a feeling she might have an appearance similar to Mona in this season, where she was in the first episode and then she left. So that'd be definitely an interesting way to have her, end off her character's storyline. But of course, it's not a Legends finale without a cliffhanger, and this year we really got a weird one here, because the team is walking off into the sunset to go on their vacation from being superheroes, and Sarah is abducted by aliens, and she's apparently beamed up by a spaceship or something, but somehow the team completely fails to notice that she's missing behind them. So there's plenty of questions left for that one. But the network and the synopsis for season 6 did tease that the Legends will be fighting aliens next season, so that should definitely be wild to see. And from the synopsis, we also heard that we are getting a new Legend, who is another person that has been abducted by the aliens. So I'll be really interested to see who that is and what kind of species these aliens are, because I don't think they're the Dominators. I'm just hoping it's some kind of comic, like DC Comics alien species, and not just some random made-up alien species, because this show is kind of going away from the superhero aspect, but I like when they keep it balanced of what they're doing now and then still having the team use their superpowers and having these comic book characters in here. So I really hope it's some kind of comic book alien species that we get to see here. So anyways, guys, that is how the end end of the season went. I really enjoyed this season. I have to say, this was the best season finale for this year, especially because this season actually got to finish filming and everything, whereas other shows were cut short because they didn't get to finish filming. But this was definitely the best. I'd say it's the best season as a whole, actually, for this year of shows, and I really enjoyed it, especially this last half of the season. But what did you guys think about this? Please let me know your thoughts on the season finale, and then also the season as a whole down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit this like button and smash the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.